The first time you stand up for yourself and decide that you're not going to be a doormat anymore is the most empowering moment of someone's life.
If you're not filling your own cup, then you will run out eventually of the ability to give of yourself
Absolutely.
to other people.
We encourage our children to improve because we love them, not because we think they're horrible where they are.
Hey guys, welcome to the Breaking Point podcast. Thanks for joining us. I'm here with Emily Cox.
Hey.
She is a friend of mine, also a colleague in our real estate industry. And we're today going to talk about some things that I think everyone needs to hear about. We're going to talk about how to care for yourself so that you can care for others. Also talk about some hard things, things that can change, breaking points that can change where we are and where we're going and how to deal with those things. So I appreciate you, Emily, for being here, and I look forward to a good conversation.
Yay, thank you. I love that you do this because I feel like the world needs more honesty and authenticity, and it seems like especially those of us like in the business world, right? In the business that we are in, it's all about, hey, making sure that people know I'm competent and I'm capable and I'm strong and I'm able to help you. And when we air our vulnerabilities, it feels like, oh, are they going to trust me now? But I actually feel like they do exactly what you've experienced, which means they respect you so much more.
It's interesting
so cool.
that you say that because it's like, I think people connect with, because everybody feels that vulnerability at some point, even mostly daily. I think people feel vulnerable. And to know that somebody is feeling the same thing, but is able to charge forward and do something that's impactful and helpful and whatever, it helps them, I think, to feel like they can do the same thing. They don't have to succumb to that like fear of being vulnerable. It can just empower them to be okay with it, So, and that's one of the things when I first met you, because I've only known you, for like just a few months, like 6 months or so since you were here. You were doing the self-defense.
The safety class.
Safety class. Yeah, that's right. Safety class. And it was like, to me, it was like right away. I was like, okay, this woman is somebody special.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. And it's because you kind of like, you exude that. You are authentic. And I think like it's like if more of the world just came across that way, we would connect with each other easier. It was very easy to connect with you. And everybody in that class, by the way, said the same exact thing. It's very easy to connect with you because you have figured out a way to bare your soul and all the things that you do, right? Like to like be authentic and show who you are, even if it's scary or if you feel vulnerable. But there have been experiences in your life that have sort of brought you to that point, right? It hasn't always been that way. Most people, it takes time to kind of develop that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me, you kind of have a previous life before real estate. Mm-hmm. What were you doing?
Oh man, what was I doing before real estate? I worked with criminal drug addicts in the court system, and that was an amazing job. It was in Oregon, and I was able to be the liaison between the judge and the court and their treatment and kind of help coordinate, help coordinate their treatment and their drug court. So it was drug court. I'm sure you've probably heard of drug court. A lot of people have. It was one of the very first drug courts in the country. And it was amazing. I absolutely loved that.
What part of Oregon was that in?
McMinnville.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I have friends that live there right now, actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That place has changed so much.
So much.
Yeah.
It was probably, how long ago was that?
So that started about 20 years ago.
So it was kind of even probably a little semi-rural almost, like a quiet place.
Oh yeah, such a small town.
Blackberry bushes and, small roads and And now it's kind of a metropolis.
It kind of
Kind of a
is.
bigger place. I mean, the whole place has grown together. Everything's grown outward. So I think McMinnville got sort of just swallowed up by the Portland metro area. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they would get out of jail in Portland in Washington County and they would give them a bus ticket and they would go south to McMinnville. So, like, it's good and bad. Like, they found refuge there, but also it completely shifted the way the town was. The park that we raised our kids in is now a homeless camp. And it's so sad. So, those kind of changes I think we've seen a lot in the Northwest. But I think just as a society, we've seen that, right? Those
Yeah.
changes over the last 20 years. But yeah, I don't want to go back.
No.
I love being here is a little bit safer.
100%. I was just talking with somebody because I went to college at Portland State University.
Oh, cool.
And back then, 30 years ago, oh my gosh, 31 years ago, I could go from my job that I had like after hours on the campus. I could walk from the campus down to the bus station, which was, or the bus stop, not the bus station, but the bus stop, which was like a mile, maybe a mile and a half. Like it's a pretty good walk.
Yeah.
Downtown, because Portland State University is downtown Portland, and not encounter a single person and never feel unsafe. It was quiet. It was like, it was amazing. It was like a small town in a city.
Wow.
I wouldn't walk outside at night in Portland today.
No,
I never.
me neither.
It's scary,
Yeah.
you know?
That's too bad.
I know. And one of my favorite restaurants called Hamburger Mary's
Oh,
was
I've
like
never heard of that one.
so good. It's like one of those hole in the wall restaurants that was sort of, if it was still alive today, it would have been on diners, drive-ins, and dives or
Oh,
whatever.
of course.
Because it was just that. It was like this little bitty thing that was on the corner of Busy Street in downtown Portland, and now it's gone because it's kind of got run out,
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that thing. I think the big thing and for you, like you're helping people through that, which is I don't think I could do it. Like that's a tough thing to
Yeah.
have. Tell me, like, how did it impact? How was it for you being the person who kind of had to witness the good and the bad that goes along with that?
So I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I remember one time we lived right across the corner. So the courthouse was here, our home was here, and then this is the church where all of my clients did their AA meetings and their NA meetings. And there were times when my clients would see me over there and they just come right on up to the door. And so it was hard to set boundaries. But I really, really loved them as humans because I know, like, we're all flawed. None of us have any clue what we're doing down here on earth, right? We're all trying our best every day. And so I had a lot of mercy for them and a lot of grace for them. None of them were violent offenders, so that felt a lot safer. But it was hard to see people make choices and not be honest and not have integrity. And that was the hardest thing to see, is that someone's really given this great gift of this program that can dismiss their charges and eventually expunge their record so that there's never even a record of them being arrested for possession charges. And to see them throw that gift away was really, really hard for me. But then I had to take a step back and go, they get to choose their life. I get to choose mine. They get to choose theirs. Yeah, it was all fine and good until I gave my husband's mountain bike away to one of them that needed transportation. And he was like, gosh, I really, really wanted that bike. But, he needed that bike. And so, yeah, there was some boundaries that were crossed, I'm sure, mostly by me. But it was an amazing experience to just see, like, the human soul, because I have struggled in my life a lot before that. And so having that perspective was really good for me to go, guess what? We all struggle.
Yeah.
We all have our tough times. We all struggle. And yeah, it was a really amazing experience. To me, it was years of learning how to set boundaries in my life, which I still use stories of those times in my presentations when I talk to women or groups of men and women about how to set boundaries and how to be safe. And Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, so precious time
Yeah.
that I love
Yeah.
looking back at those times for all that I learned.
Setting boundaries is it's a tough thing to do, especially when you have a kind heart like you do. It's you want to just help
So hard.
everybody, right? I kind of have a similar thing. Well, I wasn't in a position like you were, but I have a high school friend of mine that is a drug addict and has been in and out of prison for his entire adult life. And every time he's in prison, he has nobody, just me. And but what it was is not that necessarily he wanted me as a relationship, as a friend, but as a financial support or whatever. And because I love him, I kept kind of feeding into that and helping him money wise. And I'd send money to his fund in prison. And then when he'd get out of prison, I'd help him with, stuff. And recently I found out he's back in prison. Well, he called me and asked me for money. And I finally, after all these years, 20 plus years of doing this, I finally just said, I can't anymore. It's not because I don't love you, but I can't continue to do this for you. To me, it gets to a point where it's almost like enabling. It makes things so easy that he's not learning anything. And I have a hard time judging because I'm not judging, but I sometimes feel like I am because I come from a place of addiction as well. Like I'm a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
There's no, and there were times that I needed help and people did help me. And there were times I needed help and people didn't, and I always wanted to be the person who just did. But after a certain point, like I don't know how you define that, where that is, like where that line is, but I think it's different for everybody and for every scenario.
Yeah.
But there was finally the line where I was just like, I can't, buddy. I love you, but I've reached my limit, and it's hard though, because you don't want to feel like you've judged them prematurely or whatever,
Yeah.
but he has created quite the track record of, so I can imagine, and I'm just one scenario that throughout my life that's sort of like weaved throughout my life, woven in the fabric.
What is that word?
I think it's,
How do we use that?
I don't know, wovenated.
You just choose.
Weavenated. I don't know.
You are the wovenator.
Yeah, I'm the wovenator. But this fabric that's sort of we were best friends in grade school and grew up together.
It's so hard.
So it took me a long time to learn that, like that boundary,
Man, I'm telling you, the first time you stand up for yourself and decide that you're not going to be a doormat anymore is the most empowering moment of someone's life. Like, I remember the first time I finally, just stood up for myself. And, there's been a lot of times, probably one of the most profound moments was when I had a friend that was extremely mean. And, I just put it off. I just brushed it aside and I'd sold her a home and, man, just got so bad. And some of the accusations and the behavior that came from this person was so extreme that I remember the day that I finally said, okay, we're done. Like, you and I, we're done. And honestly, there's one person in my life that I have said that to, and that's her. And I just remember getting off the phone and just feeling this weight lifted. And I still wanted to be kind and compassionate. But what was even deeper and more important at the time was, guess what? You get to be safe as well. You get to be protected. You don't have to subject yourself to this kind of abuse on a daily basis anymore. And why do we fight this? I want to be kind and compassionate, but I also need to stick up for myself, and I don't need to be a doormat, and I don't need to be a people pleaser anymore. That maybe I can be a caretaker of myself instead of just people pleasing other people.
Yeah.
So that they're taken care of. But like you said, we enable behavior when we don't take care of it. and when we allow it to continue like that.
Yeah. This podcast is called the Breaking Point Podcast. And that's like one of those points where you break from where you were and change your trajectory into something different,
Yeah.
It's interesting because I have this philosophy, and I think it applies here because it's for people like you. It's difficult. I think that like we all have our cup, right? And there are people in our lives that we choose to give of ourselves. We take from our cup and give to them, and that's wonderful. And we can do that. But then there are also people in our lives who choose to reach into our cup and take what they want. And the people pleaser will allow that to happen for a period of time until their cup is completely empty and they have nothing left for themselves. And they don't take the time to pull the cup back and say, I need to fill this for myself, right? People sometimes can feel temporary relief, like if somebody in their life gives them something to fill their cup a little bit, but that's not yours. You didn't put it there, right?
Yeah.
You have to fill your own cup first. And it sounds selfish, but I don't think it is. I think it's selfish to not do that, because if you don't have your cup full first, then you're in survival mode all the time. It's the same thing about making money. I think not making money is selfish.
Absolutely.
Because if I don't have money, I can't think of anybody else but me. Do you know what I mean?
True.
So, and it's the same thing. If you're not filling your own cup, then you will run out eventually of the ability to give of yourself
Absolutely.
to other people.
Yeah.
But it's a hard lesson to learn,
It's the hardest for me.
Yeah.
Some of us know why we were put on earth. We're like, oh, this is the lesson, because you struggle and struggle and struggle with it your whole life. And then one day you go, oh, this is why. This is one of those things that I get to journey through. And man, those are the hardest ones.
Yeah. But also, it's that kindness just exudes from you. Like that part also defines you, right? It's just sort of finding that breaking point, like that point of, I have to pull back now and fill my own cup, right? And then I can go back out and start giving again. But like having that balance to where you're not just constantly giving or letting people take from that cup, pulling it back every now and then and filling it yourself, doing something for you, right? And to me, that should be something daily. Like for me, I have to my kids ask me, can I go work out with you in the morning? And I'm like, no, I love you, but you can't, because that's my time. Yeah. That's the time where my cup gets filled for me.
Absolutely.
And I cannot have it, even though I love my kids to death.
Sure.
Can't have them during that time. I think it should be a daily thing, a cup filling routine in the morning, whatever that is, because it will help you be able to be unselfish throughout your day.
Absolutely.
Right? So anyways, that's my whole philosophy on making sure that being selfish so you can be unselfish kind of thing, right?
I don't believe it's selfish.
Yeah.
I believe, we hear a lot about self-love, right? I feel like that is one of my main journeys here in this life, is just to understand, what that means. And I think on a daily basis, we have to reevaluate what that looks like. Why are you filling your cup in the morning? Because I deserve that. I love myself. I am seeking to do everything that I can every day to protect this, to love this, to love her, I've struggled with self-love a lot in my life. And I think a lot of empathic people do, because they're so focused on serving others, so focused on making sure everybody's tucked in, everybody has what they need. Okay, it's fine. I know my head's cut off, but it's fine. I'll just make sure everyone's tucked in, and whatever is happening here is not important until it is, right? Yeah. It's been a journey. And I remember, just to be super transparent, I had a violent encounter when I was young, and it changed my life. And I really did spiral down into this hole where every day was just like trying to save my life. And I know you've talked about mental health, and you've talked about the importance of making sure that you have that mental health, that it's here, that it's not struggling. But a lot of us have really struggled with that. And I remember at a time when I was extremely self-destructive, and to the point where I was seeking my life every day, seeking to take my life every day. And I'm finding more and more of my friends get that, and that it's okay to share that, and it's okay to talk about that. And one of the things that I struggled with was just, this happened, so you must be just horrible. You are horrible to have allowed that to happen. And which is really absurd to think that, but when you're suffering and when you're hurting, a lot of times you do feel like, oh, that must have been my fault. That must have been, that I should suffer because of this horrible thing that made me now this horrible creature. And so every day I just think, I'm so grateful for my life because I did come out of that. I did choose happy. I did choose joy. At several years later, after horrible things I put my family through. But at some point we get to choose how we respond to whatever stimulus it is. And I love Viktor Frankl. Do you know who Viktor Frankl is?
No.
Oh, he's so cool. So he was a Jewish psychiatrist, and he and his wife and their unborn child were taken to the concentration camps during World War II. His wife and unborn child were killed. And as a psychiatrist, he analyzed what was happening. And he's like, there's got to be meaning to this suffering. And his famous quote is, between stimulus and response, there's a space. And in that space is our ability to choose our response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. Mm. So I have that quote hanging in my office. And I get emotional because I am so grateful that I chose to respond differently to horrific things that happened. And I chose to have a different life. And I met my husband, and, he saw me through my worst of times. And we ended up having this beautiful little family with 3 kids, and worked with criminal drug addicts, and, started my real estate career. And, I'm at this place, at the same time, I decided to start a self-defense program for women at the same time. So my life's really crazy, and my husband's extremely concerned, making sure that I don't get overwhelmed. But it was such a crazy thing to step into that journey of real estate and self-defense and the healing that came from both of them. So struggling with, I think a lot of women struggle with, and men too, they just struggle with a lack of self-love. It's easy to love other people, but it's hard to love yourself, especially, when you feel like you've made so many mistakes in your life that you are unlovable. So on the outside, everything looks great. On the outside, everyone's happy and great. And on the inside, you're suffering so much because you loathe that person that you live in. Mm-hmm. And so it was about 2 years ago. This is my breaking point. This was the point of my life when things completely shifted. And they all also came together in this amazing, it was like everything wove together so it fit perfectly and it made sense.
It wovenated.
It wovenated,
yes.
all together. I love that word. That's our new word. You're such a wovenator. And so everything like literally came together in this perfect minute moment. So a couple of years ago, I was struggling a lot with a lot of stress and clenching my jaw. And so I was seeing a chiropractor, and he was having me do these neck stretches on my floor. So I was doing these neck stretches, and I'm an extremely sensitive person. So music is very, it has to be the right music or it hits me wrong. And I'm extremely empathic. And so all the energy coming from music is like, so I would listen to music, and then eventually I just couldn't anymore. So I was just laying there on the floor for my 15 minutes. And as I was laying on the floor, I started this, I don't know what it was, but I had this visual. So, when you meditate and you get into this, do you meditate, Eric?
Not like officially meditate.
Yeah.
But I do spend time throughout the day just reflecting.
That's awesome.
But not on purpose. Just kind of like I
Yeah.
catch myself just thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
a
it should
really
be more on purpose, I think.
That's a beautiful start. Well, those of us that have brains like ours, where they're constantly busy and they're taking in all this information, has actually been a really good thing. And I might last only a minute, but I'm like, oh, that was a minute. Good job. So I found myself in this meditative state. So I don't know if I was falling asleep, if it was that moment when you're falling asleep, but you're not quite asleep, but you're not really awake either. It's just kind of a funky, weird moment. And so I just had this visual, and I was standing there, and I was looking at myself, and I took a step away from myself. And I had been thinking about all of these women that I teach, I teach them how to love themselves. I teach them how to defend themselves. I teach them that they're worth protecting. And here I was in this moment where I took a step back, and I was like, oh, it's all about protecting these women, like teaching them how to be safe. And then I was looking at myself. Gosh, I knew this was going to happen.
It's okay.
And I'm not going to apologize for it, but it was really, it was interesting to take a step back from myself and look at myself and look at her. And I heard this thought, whatever it may be, but I heard, why don't you love her? Why don't you protect her? You spend all of this time teaching women how to protect themselves, but why do you allow her to feel unsafe in here every day? It's the things you tell her, the way you talk to her, the way you look at her and go, you're not perfect. Your body's not perfect. You didn't act perfect today. So it was an extremely profound experience where this shift happened when I could actually look at myself, which is her, and feel such a deep love for her. And look at all she survived in her life. And, our body is a freaking miracle that it can perform the way it can perform, especially under stress. And to be in total stress mode for, almost 50 years, that's crazy that my body is still functioning. And I had this moment where it was almost like a review where I could see all those times that she succeeded, that she was kind, that she was loving, that she survived the odds and really shouldn't have survived statistically. And all of the things that she gave and helped with. And I was like, that's me. And at that moment, it shifted something inside so deeply that I have never looked at myself the same again. I wake up every morning and I go, this is your one job, is to take care of her. And if you can take care of her, if you can take care of this soul that you're in charge of, that everyone else will be fine and everyone else will be taken care of as well. And your husband will be so happy and your children will be happy because you'll have your cup filled because you cared for yourself so deeply. And so, boy, it was insane to have this experience. And that night I went and taught women, a group of women in West Haven, and I taught them about intuition and consent and boundaries. And it completely changed the way I saw the presentation that I gave them all the time. I'd done probably 60 of these presentations in the last couple of years. And here I was standing up there, a completely different person. And when I told them that they were worth protecting, you know,